Hey guys, welcome to the Titanium Vault. I'm your host, RJ Bates III, and today's episode is about the importance of split-second decisions in your business. And this goes from both acquisitions, dispositions, speaking to your team members, across the board, in every aspect of your business. We are constantly faced with the need to make split-second decisions. When the seller says, here's my objection, that is a split-second decision on how you're going to overcome that. When your buyer says, I'm willing to buy the property at your asking price, but I need a couple of days to go get the funds. Now you have a split-second decision to make. And one of the things when it comes to making split-second decisions is that I see people feel the pressure of making that decision quickly. And that's not always the case. Awkward silence is not a bad thing. It's awkward for both parties. If you allow that awkwardness to dictate how quickly you're going to make your decision, that is where you can make the mistake and make the incorrect decision. Slow down the conversation. Slow everything down to where you are 1000% certain that how you are handling whatever objection it is, whatever decision you're about to make, is the one that you're going to be happy with. And what's something that you could do to prepare yourself for that moment? First and foremost, I like to role play mentally with myself, thinking about these different types of situations. If this comes up, what is my reaction? What is a question that I could ask to overcome this objection, to buy myself more time to come up with my decision? Elongating the conversation, forcing the other party to divulge more information. This is how you can capitalize on those split-second decisions and make sure that whatever your reaction is, you're going to be pleased with the end result. So I'll give a couple of examples here. Closers Olympics, final round. Seller comes up with several objections. The reason why I was able to overcome those objections is because earlier in the day, I had role played those scenarios in my head. And the reason why is because I asked my business partner, Elijah De La Garza, for feedback. He listened to my whole first day in the Closure Olympics. He said, honestly, there really wasn't a whole lot that I thought you could have done differently or done better, except for you accepted an objection during the first phone call that I felt like you could have pushed a little bit harder to try to overcome. And so I really thought about that because there was a decision that I made, a conscious decision to say, I'm ending the conversation now because I was about at the 14-minute mark in my first round, which means I had 16 more minutes left in that round. I made a conscious decision to end that conversation, not try to overcome the objection, because I felt like we had reached the end of the road with that seller, and he was telling me, I don't know if I want to sell this property or not. Now, not in a competition, just on a day-to-day acquisition, I'm going to push much harder to try to get the end result that I desire. But when I ask Elijah for the feedback and he tells me, hey, felt like you could have pushed a little bit harder on this and gotten the end result that we were after, I started role playing those situations, knowing that I had an hour in the final round, right? Telling myself objections that sellers can overcome. And what's the number one objection that when you're basically at the finish line is, hey, let me take some time to look over this contract and I'll sign it by X time. And that's the exact scenario that came about in the final round of the Closers Olympics. And while I was thinking about this, if you go back and you watch my previous videos, the press conference, the live that I did with Aaron Bevins here on the YouTube channel, even during the initial lineup reaction video that I did here on my YouTube channel, I sat there and I said, I believe to win the 2021 Closers Olympics, you're going to need to get a signed contract. Okay. This is me speaking this into existence. And here I am going into this, and I'm telling myself, I know that the number one objection that I'm going to receive is going to be, yes, I verbally agree to your offer, but I need time before I sign that contract. So I role played with myself. How am I going to overcome those objections? And I kept saying it over and over the period of months. And I told myself, I'm going to be raw and authentic and transparent with the seller. And I'm going to tell the seller, I'm in a competition and I need you to sign this contract before whatever time my hour was going to expire. And when I did that, it gave me the result because I was prepared for that moment. I was prepared for that split-second decision. How often are you doing that in your business? In a much easier scenario where there's no shot clock, there's no judges, it's just you talking to a motivated seller, and you're there to solve their problem by buying their piece of real estate. How often are you having those conversations with yourselves, thinking about what's a common objection that I hear? What's hindering my ability to have the success that I'm looking for? And role playing mentally in your head, whether when you're getting ready in the morning, when you're in the shower, when you're driving to the office, in between phone calls, are you recapping that? So when that split-second decision comes about, you're prepared and you're ready for what you're going to say and how you're going to become better. When Steve Train called me and said, how did you get better from 2020 to 2021? The answer was reps, repetitions, over and over and over again, just like exercising. And by doing that, when I get off of a phone call, I recap mentally, what could I have done better there? Every single time I'm thinking about the reactions of the sellers to the things that I say, to how the conversation either went wrong or went great. Where could I have steered it a little bit different? And that is how you're going to get better with the split-second decisions. But again, when you're first starting out and you're struggling in these moments, I'm going to tell you the number one reason why you're struggling is because you're feeling the pressure of knowing that it's in a split second. You're not slowing down. You're not allowing the awkward silence to be there. It's okay to have awkward silence, and whether it's a buyer, seller, business partner, team member, it doesn't matter. You can hear me on lives tell sellers, tell buyers, I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking about what you just said. I'm formulating my response to what you just said. This is transparency, and people will respect that. They will look at that and say, this is a person that is serious about answering what I just said. This is not just, boom, I'm going to give you whatever just popped up on top of my head. Unless you're prepared for that moment and you know it's exactly what you want to say. Otherwise, slow it down. Ask more questions. Ask them to explain what they just told to you. You need more time to look at the contract? Is there something that you would like to go over on the contract? Is there another decision maker that needs to take a look at the contract? When a buyer says, I need to go collect my funds. Okay, does that mean you're raising private capital, talking to a hard money lender, selling a property? Maybe I could be the one that purchases that property from you. Ask questions. Slow down the conversation. Instead of making a split-second decision right then and there, the moment of truth in a conversation doesn't necessarily happen right then. It can happen 2 or 3 questions down the road. But that's up to you by dictating the conversation and steering it the direction you want. This is what will elevate you to a whole nother level, is when you are not nervous and not worried about making the conversation not awkward. It's okay to slow it down, ask questions, and then once you're in that moment that you're fully prepared for, seizing that moment. And that's the importance of split-second decisions. Hopefully this was beneficial for you. Stay tuned tomorrow for another live episode of Comping with Cassie DeHaas, with the Comp Queen. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.